Two major road projects were approved in first reading by City Council. Brian Burns covered that story for us today. He's now joins us now in the studio with more on that. Brian?
That's right, Rudy. One project affecting Chaparral Street downtown is part of two past bond projects, 2008 and 2012. The first was changing a portion of Chaparral Street from one-way to two-way between Cooper's Alley and I-37. It's part of a three-phase plan to improve one of the key streets in the central business district. Along with that change would be modifying some diagonal parking to parallel parking to make room for the two-way traffic.
And this would help traffic flow a little bit better. This would encourage more motorists going through the businesses and things like that going through that area.
If approved in second reading, that change will take place at the beginning of October. The second project involves changing the south end of Rodfield Road from a 2-lane to a 4-lane with a median. Also changing the intersection of Rodfield Road and Yorktown from a curve to a T intersection. And if approved in second reading, that project, construction on Rodfield Road improvements, expected to begin by the end of the year. Rudy?
Thanks, Brian. Meantime,